Hi, I'm Glenn Cochran. This session will focus on the transition to NYSSLS curriculum. Regardless of the curriculum your district purchases, or if you decide to write your own, there are essentials that help drive the instruction for 3D learning. Teachers know their class best, so materials might have to be adapted to meet your students' needs, but the pedagogy described in previous lessons is fundamental to NYSSLS. Use the bit.ly link on this first page to download the one-stop agenda. And for session 3, download Weaving the Web and the lesson screener. Pause the video and get a hold of those materials. This session will point out some of the many curriculum options. The choice to write your own curriculum or select a curriculum is a local decision. However, understanding the expectations for NYSSLS instruction can help you adapt the lessons to meet the needs of your students. We'll also look at the 5E model for lessons and analyze a common lesson using a lesson screener. Essentials of curriculum. NYSSLS, like all the NYSSLS-like standards, anticipates student-centered learning in a constructivist style of instruction where students learn by doing the practices of science. I have found elementary teachers are usually really good at this pedagogy. Your curriculum should provide planned experiences for students to achieve proficiency in content and skills. As teachers become more comfortable with the lessons, they might adapt them to meet their class. The logos at the bottom of the slides represent some of the many K-5 programs available. Remember, each grade K through 5 has unique content and learning opportunities built from the progressions we looked at for the science and engineering practices, cross-cutting concepts, and the core ideas of science. The curriculum resources should support teacher instruction implementing NYSSLS and the needs of your students, district, and community. The graphic on the right represents how students will be figuring out phenomenon and solving problems by making sense through the science and engineering practices. These are all interrelated, and they're used over and over again as students move through the process of figuring things out. One of the tools that works for inquiry-based lesson planning is called 5E. It begins with number 1, engaging students with phenomena. This important step sets the stage for what students are ultimately explaining. When the students explore, that's number 2, they use the SCPs to gather evidence and use the cross-cutting concepts to put a frame around how to view the phenomenon. The curriculum with teacher expertise provides this inquiry experience. Number 3 is explanation. Students explain using evidence from exploration, make models, use reasoning when making claims. Additional exploration is sometimes needed to help refine student explanations. Some direct teaching provides science vocabulary when appropriate or can assist moving student understanding. Teacher talk moves that facilitate student discourse can help students work through explanations without giving it away. Number 4 is elaborate. Elaborate can be where students demonstrate transference. Can they apply what they learned to alternative phenomena? Number 5 is evaluate, but that isn't part of a linear sequence. Teachers evaluate formatively, continuously, and that can drive the instructional plan. Lesson screeners can help evaluate and improve curriculum and instruction. This one from Achieve identifies components that ideally should be included in the lessons. If using the full screener, the evaluator looks for evidence in the lesson for these 6 components. Honestly, the screeners provide a guide and a goal when considering what should be in a multi-day lesson. This screening tool was downloaded from Paul Anderson's The Wonder of Science. Read through the lesson and use the checklist for the 12 components. These screeners provide guidance for the lesson and unit design in NYSSLS. The lesson we're going to look at is called Weaving the Web. It is a nice kinesthetic activity for grade 5. Students develop a model of the movement of energy in the ecosystem. Students wear labels of creatures, plants, the sun, and a ball of yarn is passed. In a group or individually, use the Paul Anderson screener to evaluate Weaving the Web, Food Web class activity. Go through the checklist and make the marks in the checklist. The screener and the Weaving the Web activity should have been downloaded at the beginning of this talk. And let's take a few moments now to individually or in your group, go through the screener and make your checks. Stop the video. Oh, it's important to actually go to the standards to see what the students are expected to know and do. It will be important to scaffold lessons to move students to reach proficiency. Proficiency is the standard. I thought 2 performance expectations from grade 5 could be partially addressed by this activity. The one we are looking at right now, 5 PS 3-1, use models to describe that energy in animals' food used for body repair, growth, motion, and to maintain body warmth was once energy from the sun. So the students in this activity used a model to describe the phenomena. The content is that orange. I don't think they gathered all of that from this activity, and they're talking about energy. The next one is 5LS 2-1. And this one has a NYSSLS version, slightly different than NGSS, and it says, develop a model to describe the movement of matter among plants, producers, animals, consumers, decomposers, and the environment. Emphasis is on the flow of energy and cycling of matter in systems such as organisms, ecosystems, and/or the earth. Here, they are expected to develop the model, and there is a rather long content area in the disciplinary core idea, and this is more about systems. But in this activity, to me, it was centered around energy, but it wouldn't take much to incorporate the concept of matter as well as energy. Weaving the web. Does this lesson have the components to be a complete unit? Can this lesson be part of a unit? What else should you use if you want to build the curriculum? And this list for what students are expected to know and do. So take a moment, if you have a group, share out what you're thinking in terms of how this lesson fits in. Is it complete? Can it be adapted? So now what I'd like to do is show you my thinking on this. And this was my score. My opinion, it was not a phenomenon for them to start with. They jumped into an activity. It was really teacher-centered. It did address some of the disciplinary core idea, but it's, I would say, partially. They did develop and using models. It was about energy. Didn't quite get to the matter part, but that's the cross-cutting concept. It did not provide explicit instruction on how to use the model or the cross-cutting concept. Student discourse, yeah, they'd probably be talking during this activity. Formative assessments, not really. Just watching the teacher, nothing was explicitly designed in the lesson. It is scientifically authentic. It is relevant and age appropriate. Number 11, they really don't have an anchoring phenomena or a problem. Just cross that out. And there wasn't any real inclusion of differentiation to support all students. You may not agree, but that's fine. We could argue. Okay, now I want to show you a short video again of what this looks like in a classroom. This is another lesson. It's a longer video than I'm going to watch. It's actually the first minute 12 or so we're going to look at. But we have this longer, and you're welcome to actually download it or take a look at it on your own.
Split it, and somebody hold it like this. And then we can go like that. There we go. Oh, we lit it again. We did it again.
We don't use a textbook. And basically what we do in my room is it's just about having fun and learning by doing. And I think that's the biggest part about science is in order to learn science, you have to do it.
You got it.
We start off using a battery and a light bulb and a piece of foil. And I just basically put it on their table and say, make it light. And so it's just basically just a very simple inquiry activity where they're just given materials and they have to figure it out. Why do you have it on both ends?
If they don't both connect, then how is it going to charge right?
When they figured out that the foil is basically a type of metal and so is the wire, so then a lot of them started to figure out, well, I wonder if other metals will work. And so they kind of work off each other and talk to each other, and they'll wrap up the battery, they'll wrap up the light bulb, they'll, do crazy things to try to make it work. But eventually they'll figure it out, and when they do figure it out, they'll never forget it.
No, it's not. Yes, we got it. We got it.
Now, the way a catapult works.
Thank you for participating, and join me for session 4, assessment of NYSSLS.